That's where Schefter comes in. So I've got my son and my two nephews around my house all the time, and all that's going on are fantasy football drafts.
A lot of people.
Everyone in the world is doing their drafts this year, and no one focuses more intently on this or knows more about it than Schefter. So you need to hear from him before you have your draft. Let's start with this. If I've got the number one pick in my draft this year, who am I taking?
It's not even a question in my mind. I know most people are going with Jamar Chase, and he's great. But my number one pick is this running back in Atlanta, Bijan Robinson. His numbers down the stretch last year were outstanding. It's tougher to find a great running back. When Michael Penix came in, his numbers got even better. I believe Bijan Robinson is the unquestioned, easy number one pick in any fantasy draft this year, ahead of Jamar Chase, as good as Jamar Chase is.
So that's coming in here, guys, and let me get some thoughts on these as we can, fantasy experts or to whatever degree we are. I find Atlanta a fascinating team. I don't know what to expect. If you told me they're going to disappoint, I feel like they've been disappointing the last several years.
Yeah.
But with Penix, if he can unlock not just Robinson, who obviously has been terrific, but Drake London and Kyle Pitts, if he ever turns into what he was projected to be, Falcons, I think, could be a sleeping giant.
Greeny, think about all the high draft picks that the Falcons have used on offensive players, from the quarterback, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. Their offensive line, they have one of the better offensive lines in the National Football League. Like, this Falcons offense should be, with all that talent, should be a top 10 offense.
But Greeny, to use your term, seeking big news, their right tackle, Caleb McGarry, is going to miss a lot of time. I'm an expert in right tackle durability issues, and that's the blind side of Michael Penix. His backup, Storm Norton, is also hurt. Michael Penix needs good protection to be effective.
That means you have to run the football more and use more screen passes, and that's where Bijan Robinson comes in as the number one pick.
We were talking about this around the desk yesterday, and Ryan Clark just turned to me and goes, he's going for 2 Gs this year, meaning a combination of running and receiving over 2,000 yards. So they were all on board with Bijan Robinson. Let's go to quarterback and a mid-round quarterback. Let's say some of the big names are off the board. I'm looking for a mid-round quarterback.
Everybody knows how good and valuable Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts,
Jaden Daniels.
And Joe Burrow are in fantasy. But if you get past that tier of quarterbacks and looking in the mid-tiers, the Denver Broncos quarterback, Bo Nix, came on last year, started slow, picked up speed, and Bo Nix, of course, in this offense, with Evan Ingram added in there, with R.J. Harvey added in there, with this team being another year in Sean Payton's offense, Bo Nix should be that much more experienced, that much more productive, and as a mid-round pick, obviously Bo Nix has a chance to really shine.
Greeny, what about Baker Mayfield? I mean, Tampa Bay the last couple of years has been top 5 offense. Emeka Egbuka, all-time leading receiver in the Ohio State history. I know Chris Godwin's hurt, but I think they're going to...
He's also missing his left tackle, Tristan Wirfs, right, for the first couple of years of the year.
So these are interesting questions here. Do you expect, so sometimes with these young quarterbacks, you never know. Sometimes it's a linear progression. Is Bo Nix going to become, I mean, if he is Drew Brees but bigger, meaning in that offense, but, you know, I mean, Bo Nix is a big guy, obviously. He played a ton of college football,
yeah.
So maybe him hitting the ground running isn't that much of a surprise. Do you like the trajectory that you expect from Nix and the Broncos this year?
I do. There's a couple of things I like about Bo Nix. Number one, he played a ton of college football. Then you have.
He made the most starts of any college quarterback in NCAA history.
Yeah, he's played a ton of college snaps. That's number one. Number two, you got Sean Payton. You got one of the best offensive minds in football as your head coach / play caller. They've added weapons around him. Usually you make your biggest jump from year 1 to year 2. I think Bo Nix is going to make a huge jump this year.
Yeah, so for those who don't speak fantasy the way you guys may, they'll be wondering, how about Patrick Mahomes? He's the best player. He's the best quarterback. I keep hearing their offense is going to be better this year. Where does he fall in all of this?
Listen, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to go scorched earth this year, and I think that'd be a great mid-round target as well. I'm not sure of his ADP on ESPN, but I would be in favor.
I drafted him in the 5th round in our draft. So
the thing, he doesn't run much. He runs in the playoffs. He's smart. He's too smart to run a lot during the regular season because he knows if he gets hurt, then the only thing that really matters is off the table. He's a sneaky good runner, but he generally doesn't do much of it in the regular season.
He doesn't. But I will say this. We saw the worst version of the skill around Patrick Mahomes last year.
Right.
They're going to be a much better team, primarily because he's going to have better protection up front. Their offensive line is going to be a lot better. Some of the guys that they had injured on the perimeter are going to be back. Patrick Mahomes is going to be, we're going to be talking about him at the end of the year as one of the best quarterbacks in fantasy, in my opinion.
Greedy, what's stunning was last year they were 29th in air yards per attempt. That just shows you he was getting the ball out of his hands for lack of protection. So I think they're going to be much more explosive than they were last year.
It'll be interesting to see. Yeah.
With their new left tackle, their first-round draft pick from Ohio State, I think that's going to make a huge difference for Patrick Mahomes.
He had not gotten hurt in college. He probably would have been a top 10 pick. Okay, last one, a wide receiver. We know Jamar Chase. We know Justin Jefferson. How about a mid-round wide receiver someone should grab?
At this time last year, everybody was talking about this player as a top 20 pick. Not this year. But Marvin Harrison has a chance to be even better in his second year than he was in his first year, and he's not going to be drafted as high this year as he was last year in his rookie year. Now, I'm not sure exactly where he's going in drafts. I would say somewhere between pick 30 and 40 is my approximate guess on Marvin Harrison, and I think he's going to be able to produce up to that value for the Arizona Cardinals this year, and you for your fantasy team if you wind up drafting him.
He was underutilized last year. Make no mistake about it. He was underutilized. I think in year two, they have to understand, listen, we drafted this guy, high draft pick from last year. We drafted that guy for a reason that high because he's a bona fide number one receiver. And so I expect they got Trey McBride on that offense. The Arizona Cardinals have weapons, but they got to get that young man much more involved in that offense.
It's all going to come down to the quarterback, right? Kyler Murray, we see him have so many really good games early in this seasons, and we think to ourselves, is this the year that Murray finally lives up to all of the promise? And generally speaking, it has not as the seasons have gone on. What is your expectation from him and from Arizona?
Yeah, Greeny, I think they're better than people realize on the skill players. You mentioned Trey McBride, and then they have James Conner and Michael Wilson to go along with Marvin Harrison. So that's a good nucleus together. They have some continuity on their coaching staff, which they haven't had for a while. So if Kyle Murray is going to take the next step, he's set up to do it this year.
If Kyler Murray plays well, and I think Arizona has a real chance to win this division.
Wow.
Would you repeat that?
I think Arizona has a chance to win this division.
That was my dark horse pick on this show.
When I was on vacation.
Arizona.
So you save all the good stuff for when I'm not here. Arizona. In a division where half the people love the Rams and Vegas loves the 49ers. You guys like Arizona. That's an interesting pick.
I think they're a dark horse team. They've added a lot of pieces on their defensive front. The weapons on offense.
Keep a close eye on it, fantasy and reality. Meanwhile, if you're a sports fan, here's three more things you need to know this morning, and it begins in the WNBA, where the Aces, years so far, and a big part of it, the Commanders and Terry McLaurin work things out.
Amazing how that happens in late August, less than 2 weeks away from the Commanders' regular season opener. All we heard was how far apart the two sides were, and then lo and behold, 13 days from the opener, the two sides agree on a 3-year contract. It really was quite a similar contract to the one on the table. Some adjustments were made, and Terry McLaurin winds up in Washington. The Commanders get the player that they need, and how one signing can help uplift the mood of an entire organization as it gets ready to play the New York Giants.
Because you had been saying that despite the fact that the world views the Commanders as this team on the come-up, that there had been some vibes there that were a little questionable, and now, boom, just like that, maybe it all turns around.
I think the team was a little bit off this summer. You had the Terry McLaurin situation hanging out over the entire organization, and now McLaurin signs. The wide receiver room gets boosted. Everybody feels better. The team that didn't look quite as sharp now all of a sudden has great hopes as it gets ready for the Giants.
They play the Giants in what'd you say, 12 days, a week from Sunday. D. Wood, what is the ceiling for this Commanders team?
Super Bowl. Super Bowl's on the table for the Washington Commanders, and primarily because of their quarterback. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be a superstar in this league. We saw what he did in his rookie year. It was an unprecedented rookie year by rookie quarterback. And so when you have him as a centerpiece, they've upgraded the offensive line. Obviously, trade for Laramie Tunsil being one of the pieces. You trade for Deebo Samuel, another piece added to that offensive side. And now you're talking about better protection, better run game, more explosiveness on the perimeter, and it all adds up to the Washington Commanders